In order to explain to everybody the basics of security and its inherent flaws, I've decided to use an example from America's favorite store, Walmart. We have amateur video footage and real people in here. There's no actors. When I approach and enter a Walmart, I use the doors provided to me to enter the building. When I want something, I go where I'm told it is, or where I think it is. And when I get to a section of the store where I think the item that I want is stocked, I really have only two choices. I can take the item from the shelf, or I can leave it on the shelf. Okay, I could move it to another part of the store just to make the stock people's job miserable, but that isn't part of this conversation. Regardless, my decision to walk through the aisles of the store is going to result in either a net decrease in inventory at the store or no change in inventory at the store. And it's this behavior that Walmart creates all kinds of analytics around. They stock the stores based on patterns that they observed, and they're pretty darn good at it. It's the behind-the-scenes activity that makes Walmart so profitable. Okay, once I take an item from the shelves, and I commit to bringing the item home with me, I can either exit through the doors without paying for it, or I can exit through the doors after paying for it. Guess what? Walmart has a system in place to eliminate the risk of me leaving without paying for something. There are sensors that detect when goods that haven't been paid for are about to leave the store, and there are cameras that track all of my activities once I enter the checkout area. Okay, let's change gears now. Let's assume that I'm an employee, and I too have a door that I can use to enter the store, but there's another choice around back that most people don't know of, nor do they get to use. As I enter that back door, used by, say, the trucks that come and deliver goods or other vendors, I'm prompted for an ID card. This isn't something that happens to anyone who uses the front door. Indeed, I too could use the front door to get in without an ID card, but that'd be useless to me, as I need to clock in and show that I've started work. Otherwise, I don't get paid, so there's no value to me skipping that step. Once I have clocked in and I begin my shift, the scope of my possible activities now is much larger than if I were a front door shopper. Sure, I can walk through the aisles and take products from the shelf, but I also have an additional thing I can do. You see, I can put items on the shelf. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I can increase inventory, unlike customers who can only decrease it or leave it unchanged. As an employee, I have some tools that I use to notify the mothership that I've added inventory to the shelves, and I do so in real time using technology widgets provided to me by the store. In addition, as an employee, I can get access to different areas of the store that other customers don't. Sure, I could get access to the break room and perhaps some employee offices and restrooms, but I also have to pass by or through areas that contain more critical equipment for the ongoing operations of the store. I get to walk next to circuit breakers, telecom and telephone systems, and perhaps even have access to places where the power company and the telephone company terminate their services into the building. I may not know what they do or how to operate any of that stuff, but I do come closer to them than customers do. Now that we've outlined the framework for how Walmart customers and employees operate, let's construct a base-level security breach. Then let's compare that to IT and make some thoughtful recommendations to see what might be done to mitigate this issue. Let's start with the event that Walmart has no control over. Let's pretend I want to get in and steal some merchandise from Walmart and get away with it. I will not be the first person to come up with this plan, but here's how I would proceed. First, I would enter the facility and walk the aisles, determining what I think I can take and get away with. I don't pick items that might hurt me to take, so no breaking glass, no climbing ladders, and I certainly don't want to hurt anybody in the process. I note that when a certain employee works behind a jewelry counter and I key on the presence of her jewelry case key around her neck. Next step, I'm going to bring some friends into the store with me. Going it alone is not always the most effective way to break in and breach, especially if you have multiple tasks that need to be performed. Divide and conquer the job and do it as quickly as possible before law enforcement arrives, right? Right. So let's now execute on our plan. Our intention is to take 10 TVs from this store, unlogged by any system, but we're probably going to be seen by lots of people, and we want to do so in such a way that we think we can get away with it. Step 0, we need to get an employee's badge. Okay, maybe I take it at gunpoint, Or maybe we just find one on the ground outside the back door one night. How isn't that important of a question? Let's just say I figured out how to get an employee's badge. Okay, we enter the back of the building and we use their badge to get in. So people don't know who I am. Somebody else has entered the store. We don a Walmart vest and grab a cart from the back and set that cart conspicuously near the TV section of the store. Then we're going to take off our Walmart vest and put it on the conspicuous cart. Next step, walk to the room where all the power and the telecommunications are at, and we flip the switch to turn off all the equipment. We unplug the power supplies from the cameras and the wireless equipment, making sure that the network is down. Yes, this does require a little bit of smarts, but not that much. Just on-off switches and power plugs. We then walk around the back of the building as we simultaneously send a message to our friends who are in the front of the store, letting them know that the power is down on the security system. The friends enter the building from the front door and go directly to where that conspicuous cart was left, and they put on my Walmart vest so as to appear official to all who see them. He then stacks 10 TVs on the cart and pushes them out the door, taking on the persona of a Walmart employee. Now the power's turned off, so there's no pictures of anything to take, no security alarms to go off, no systems to catch that he's taking critical inventory. You get in your car that you parked around back, drive and get him. You load the car up, voila, you have 10 TVs. Okay, the power comes on 10 minutes later and the manager figures out what happens. He then, behind the scenes and out of view of any media people, calls security at Walmart corporate and tells them what happened. A few weeks later, at inventory time, they discover that what's lost is 10 TVs. Finally, they're able to compute a loss value for those 10 TVs, and they send it to the insurance company for a claim. Okay, we need to put some IT now behind our story, and I'm going to have to use some bigger words so people can understand me. Let's see how it went down. The biggest risk is always from internal assets, not from some rogue hacker on the outside. In our case, the internal asset was an employee badge that we didn't know was lost. Sure, there are times when outsiders successfully attack without any insight as to how operations work, but that's an exception, not the norm. Nearly all the time, people are starting with an employee badge, aka user credentials. Once I have access to privilege mode, that means the ability to remove and add inventory and use alternative doors, there was no additional monitoring of my activity that didn't also account for customer activity. Namely, there was no two-factor authentication to confirm that it was really me. That's right, no retina scan at the door, thumbprint checking, second password to enter with my badge, none of that stuff. Once I swiped and got in, I was in. Okay, 3, once I entered and had the ability to walk into the employee area, nothing kept me from accessing the equipment room. Okay, the door was locked. But that's easy to address with some masking tape or a door stop put in, say, the night before. There were no mechanisms for logging or watching any of my historical employees, any of my historical behavior, to see if I was doing something out of the ordinary. Even if something existed, there wasn't any notifications going on in real time to let a supervisor know that employee badge number 12345 is leaving carts in the aisle with his vest on them and his name tag. That should have been an event worthy of notification, but there's no system to log that such an event is crazy or out of the ordinary. All right, number 4. If a system had been put in place to spy upon employees, most certainly there would be lots of false accusations and conclusions about employee motives going on by this system. For example, what if an employee got sick and decided to throw up while he's pushing his cart? What if that employee was asked to come move something, and in the act of wearing his vest, he decided it was dangerous because the vest might get caught in some system? In each of these cases, we're describing something called a false positive. We need a system that takes the time to learn what behaviors are normal, and it requires some sophisticated monitoring to understand. And very few companies, Walmart included, have decided to afford such a system of their own. Number 5, even with security cameras in place, there was no automation that said an employee is acting in a way that he or she has never done before. Immediately find them and isolate them. This is called intrusion detection and prevention. Lastly, there was no backup method to secure the facilities in the event of a total power loss. Okay, there were on-site generators in the back. However, the guy that pulled this off, who was smart enough to unplug the power, is probably smart enough to know how to drain diesel fuel from a generator while they were at it. This is not rocket science and could be done with a handy-dandy drill. The attack vector that allowed this sort of event to occur continues to increase. Regional managers have badges to enter and exit several buildings, and no mechanisms exist to see if they're in multiple stores at the same time. After all, if you want to have a big heist, why not hit several stores at once, using a killer set of credentials that works on a whole bunch of buildings at the same time? In addition, management carry cell phones, probably running on the store's Wi-Fi system, all broadcasting information in real time, making it extra easy to see where people are at any given moment and when they're there. So ladies and gentlemen, to address these security issues, we need the equivalent of a second story in every Walmart. One that no one, including the employees, can even see is there. The second story has glass walls and is monitoring all the systems and all the people. The people sitting up high in this glass second story have technology, and they have user credential monitoring tools. They're watching for user activity that they've never ever seen before, and not only logging it, but sending their findings to an on-site person who's able to sort out if this behavior is a false positive or not. They're reporting in real time inventory usage and note when there's a change in inventory that wasn't expected. In our case, the departure of 10 TVs from a shelf that never passed through checkout would be an event worthy of an immediate response, not waiting till the next time inventory was done weeks later. So that's it. You see how a breach works, and we're here to help. At TNT, we design and install network response systems such as these. We put in appliances on your network that all your equipment checks into all the time, and the devices send its findings back to a mothership in our data center. In that data center, there's a team of people, real people, i.e. not computers, monitoring all your equipment 24/7 by 365, and when events occur, a real-time notification is sent to you, and you can decide if you want to do something with it. These two systems we have in place today are useless without having some basic security practices in place. Everyone needs two-factor authentication. One username and one password is just too easy to hack. 2, every device needs to be kept up to date all the times. There shouldn't be any apologizing when you have to install updates and reboot. Number 3, all devices that have the ability to be part of the problem should be monitored and watched. No 20-year employees are given a pass. No old equipment is allowed to be excluded. Every doorway in and out of your facility needs to have the best fashions and security on their bodies at all times. The bad guys are not supposed to be more up to date than the good guys. Last thing, and unfortunately we really can't help you with this that much, is you need to have a written policy outlining not only how to behave as an employee, but what to do when you see somebody else is acting out of the ordinary. Your employees' credentials are the most likely attack vector that the bad guys will use. Empower your employees with knowledge, and they will be empowered to help you in preventing attacks like this one.